The Everything Except the Law podcast is brought to you by Answering Legal. For more than a decade, attorneys have trusted our 24/7 virtual receptionist service to keep their phones covered and their clients cared for. Now, we're raising the bar with an AI-powered intake chatbot, live translation services in over 180 languages, and 76 seamless tech integrations. Our goal is to make running a law practice simpler while helping you capture every new client opportunity. And don't worry, our receptionist team is still the best in the business at turning first-time callers into loyal clients. Find out what's possible by visiting answeringlegal.com. You'll find a link to our site in the description of this episode. Let's get to the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to Answering Legal's Everything Except the Law podcast. I am your host, Nick Werker. If this is your first time tuning in, this is the podcast where we share expert advice on all the parts of running a law firm that attorneys weren't exactly trained for back in law school. With me today, I have Joshua Hodges, who is a fellow deep voice talker. I don't know whose voice is deeper, mine or his. He is a partner at Kruger Hodges Hometown Injury Lawyers. We have a lot to get into, and before I ruin everything by talking about it in pre-roll and make him repeat himself. So obviously you're the hometown lawyer. That's like your brand, your position. I kind of want to learn a little bit about your hometown, because I actually truly, even though I follow you and I know a little bit about what you do, I don't know anything about Ohio or your hometown, Hamilton, at all. So if I go to, let's be specific, if I go to Hamilton, what should I do?
Wow. I guess it's an old town for one. It started out as a fort, way back in late 1700s. And this would have been like the far west part of the country at that point. 1791, I think it was founded. It's a river town. It sits on the Great Miami River, splits right through it. That river goes on down towards Cincinnati to the Ohio River, but it was a factory town. It kind of really blew up in the early 1900s, population, fast growth. And then, with the industrialization, kind of had a downturn for a while. But now the last 10, 15 years, it's kind of had a resurgence, like a lot of old towns. It has a lot of old, pretty buildings, and people are kind of rediscovering a lot of those. I'm in an old furniture store right now that we've turned into our office. I think what would you do? Depends on what you want to do. But there's a few good restaurants and brewery just outside. Usually I take people to a grocery store called Jungle Gems, which sounds kind of silly. It's actually in the adjoining town next to us in Fairfield, but it's like the craziest grocery store probably in the world. If there's one crazier, I wouldn't believe it till I saw it. So
what makes it crazy?
I think the owner, I guess. It's the guy, he has to be kind of crazy. I've met him a few times. Cool guy. He's just definitely a dreamer. It's not, he just has all sorts of crazy stuff in there. He has a box that he hangs this giant piece of cheese in. And I think I looked at the other day. I took someone that was from out of town from Texas there earlier this week, matter of fact. And the piece of cheese hanging there this week was 748 pounds. Why he needs that big a piece of cheese, I don't know. But there's just all sorts of crazy stuff in there. Anyone that's ever been there would know. It's not it's just a giant. He has like every kind of food from every kind of country you could ever think of. And he has a giant self-portrait that's him made of jelly beans. It's like a amusement park and a grocery store. It's a crazy place to go for sure if you've never been there.
My wife is going to listen to this and going to want to go. My wife is very fixated on grocery stores, so this is going to be fun.
On the list. Put this one on the list. Jungle Gems in Fairfield. You got to go to the Fairfield location. That's the original. That's my favorite. I live like 10, 15 minutes from there, so we go there probably once a month.
Now, do you go out of your way to go to Jungle Gems? Is there a closer supermarket?
Yeah, there's a Kruger right down the street. My wife will go there more often, or Meyer, but usually once a month on Saturday or Sunday, we'll all go and take the kids and we'll kind of walk around. It's kind of more fun.
I have to drive.
More money. You'll find some stuff that you probably don't have to have, but it is fun. Yeah, that's one good place. And there's Ohio is kind of underrated. There's a lot of nice small towns in Ohio with historic buildings and just cool history. Just kind of depends, there's a really cool sculpture park just outside of town called Pyramid Hill. A lot of people love that. There's a lot of nature, but there's a lot of cities too in Ohio. There's not one giant city like Chicago people think of in Ohio, but there's a lot of like pretty good sized cities. Cincinnati's a lot of fun. Columbus, Cleveland. I like Ohio. It's still it's a good place to have kids. It's still, things are getting more expensive everywhere, but it's still a lot cheaper than living on any of the coast for sure. But there's a lot, the economy in Ohio has been doing pretty good too. So I've lived here my whole life. I've traveled a lot, but I kind of always, I'll probably live here forever.
You make me want to appreciate where I live more. I live in the same town where I grew up, and I'm listening to you talk about Hamilton, and like all the landmarks. I was running. I'm not a good runner. I just started running because people here are going to do a high rocks race. Do you know what a high rocks race is?
That sounds hard. No, I don't know what it is.
It's just like you run 1,000 meters and then you do an exercise and you run 1,000 meters, and there's professional athletes that do this. So I'm going to show up next to these professional athletes and do this race looking like me. I work at a desk all day. Anyway, so I'm trying to practice running, and I don't think about this sort of stuff. I'm running through the, what is it called? The Culper Spy Trail, like the George Washington Culper Spy Trail. That's where I live. And I've never done the tour. And people do this tour all the time. They run it. I think it starts soon. And so if like somebody came to visit me, they'd be like, what should we do? I wouldn't know what to do. I could take them to a beach, like any nondescript beach, but like I'm in my head, I'm like, there's nothing famous for me to do. I could go to the Culper Spy Trail.
Yeah, there's usually, every town's got something if you look hard enough. When I was younger, I didn't really respect Hamilton as much as I do now. I think as you get older, you have kids, you kind of like, in my town's kind of improved a lot. So I think part of it, it's improving, and part of it's just I get older, you appreciate stuff a little bit differently than when you're a teenager or 20. Yeah, but then this is also where I built my business. I mean, this is also where, I knew people. So it's the easiest place to start a business is where you know a lot of people, not somewhere where you don't know anyone, I don't think. Especially in a consumer facing business like ours. For nowhere else I could have started up like I have, I don't think.
So I know this, but I didn't know this second thing until I just read it. So you were working, I forget what it was, some like manual labor job, and you wanted to go to law school, and then you did go to law school, and you like went to Biglaw. Can you sort of like walk me through that whole transition? Did you always want to open a small law firm?
No, I mean, I graduated high school with a 2.2 GPA. I was like, big public high school, Hamilton High here, go Big Blue. I think there's probably 700 and some kids in my graduating class. And I think you get your little class rank on. I had to get my report card once to get a job later on. And I think I was like 270th in my class. I mean, I wasn't like crushing it at school. Not because I wasn't smart. I just don't think
that's not bad. You said 2.2. I was like, oh, that'll be like bottom half. But
yeah, I was like barely in the top. I think I was like barely in the top half.
Okay.
70 out of 600 or something. It wasn't any good. And I started working in a factory soon after high school, and then I worked in another one. I worked in some restaurants. I did all kinds of jobs. And most of the guys in my family, they all worked construction or factory, stuff like that. My grandpa's a welder. My stepdad I grew up with drove a backhoe and a forklift and stuff like that. And I just figured that's what I would do. So I started doing that. And I didn't hate it. I worked the night shift at a local factory, but I started taking classes at the branch campus of Miami here. They have a Miami University, has a Hamilton campus that was close and cheaper. So I just started taking like 1 or 2 classes a semester. Then I got a job with the Highway Patrol, giving driving tests to kids actually. And that really helped me out a lot because it was 40 hours was during the day. And the state of Ohio had a thing. If I took like, I think 6 credits a semester, as long as I got a B, they'd pay for like 80% of it. So it's just like, dang, I almost quit a bunch of times along the way, but I was like, well, if they're going to pay for it, I might as well go get a B, and that's kind of what I was doing for a while. And then we had a kid. And by the time I was probably 25, I probably had 70, 80, 90 credits or something. I was getting closer and closer, and I was getting a better student along the way and just more mature, and then I started setting my goals higher at that point. I think maybe I want to be a lawyer. Started getting better grades because I knew I had to get my grades up if I was going to go to law school. I took the LSAT when I was probably 28. Did well in that, got a scholarship, went to law school. So I had a 2.2 in high school. I did better in college, and then in law school, I kind of hit my stride. Like, I think for 2 reasons. One, I was just 29. I had a kid. I was taking it really seriously. But also, I think, I learned some stuff about, high school wasn't built for me. It was like one homework every day for 2% of your total grade at the end of the semester. Like, that's not enough to like wake me up. It's still not, and law school, the first semester, anyone who has went knows, the first year, it's like you get one test at the end of the semester. It's for all the marbles. So it's like your whole grade. There's no like, there's reading every day and there's assignments every day, but none of it really counts for your grade. All of it is writing on one big exam at the end of it. And that is terrifying. And I think it's like petrifying to some people, but for whatever sick reason, whatever is wrong with me, the same reason that like I'm not good at like a little thing every day, I kind of like rose to that occasion. Like I was better at one big test than other people. And it like kept me engaged because I knew like you can't screw this up. Where if it was one little homework work, in high school, I would just maybe halfway do it or not do it at all or lose it or whatever. I kind of did really good in law school, and that's how I ended up getting a job in Biglaw. I had really good grades. Got a job at a big law firm. I think they just merged with another firm recently. They have like 900 attorneys there now. So I didn't even know Biglaw existed. That wasn't my goal going into law school at all. But I got good grades. I got interviewed and got a job offer making like 3 times more money than I ever had prior to going to law school. And the people on the admissions were like, you got to take that job. They're really hard to get. So I did. And my wife had been working while I was going to law school. So I had to kind of try to make a little money for the family. So I did that for like a year and a half, and I didn't hate it. There's people who will give you like sob stories about Biglaw or whatever. Like I had crappy jobs prior. So I knew like they're paying me a lot of money. It's not going to be a cakewalk. And it wasn't. I didn't hate it. I liked a lot of the people I worked with, but I just kind of felt like I had a better opportunity to go out on my own. Like a lot of people would call me because I was the only attorney. I mean, I'm from a blue collar town, and the blue collar part of a blue collar town, if there's such a thing. Like I lived in kind of the poor side of town, and everyone I knew, they weren't lawyers and they didn't have lawyers in their family. And when I became an attorney, like a lot of people I knew reached out to me for everything. And the big firm, they wouldn't take a DUI or a domestic violence or a car crash. I was in government services. So I pretty much defended the government. So, I was never going to get a client of my own doing that. I was like just beholden to all the attorneys above me. And it was going to be like that in Biglaw for a long time. And I kind of knew that I could get clients of my own. So I just decided in 2017, I was going to do it. And I just made the jump. And it was scary because, giving up a nice salary. And my family, my poor stepdad, like, he thought I was crazy quitting my job at the state to go to law school. Probably. He's a very conservative, like practical, make money, put it under the mattress kind of guy, And so when I quit a pretty good government job to go to law school, that probably scared him. And then I had a job making 6 figures, and I was about to quit it to start a firm. Like I can see, that people believed in me, I think, but I think a lot of them were scared too. And for whatever reason, I just kind of wasn't. Like I think when I was young, I didn't believe in myself that much. In high school, I kind of probably thought I was a screw up, but by the time I went through law school and kind of done well and worked at the big firm, I kind of knew that I could figure it out because I was going to try hard and, do my best. And it's kind of, you change with time. I think I started believing myself more somewhere along the way with little successes, along the way, kind of built up to where I figured out that I could do it and quit and started my own. 2017, I worked with a buddy from law school for about a year and a half. And then he was moving out of state. So we kind of broke that firm up, pretty amicably. And then I started in Hamilton with my current partner, 2018, and been going ever since.
That is the most clear way that I've ever heard somebody put that you can change careers like whenever you want. So
and I've changed what type of law I've done.
Did you really?
Yeah, when I was in big law, I was defending.
Yeah.
And then,
but when you opened your firm,
when I opened my firm, my buddy that I was with was already doing immigration, so I was kind of helping him do that. I was getting a lot of clients. I had a lot of connection with kind of like some of the foreign-born communities, immigrant communities in Cincinnati and Hamilton. So I was helping him get clients with that. I just didn't really love the work, and going to Cleveland for court was kind of a pain. And I left out the craziest part. When I left the big law, my wife had a good job, and she was, a good job, like government-wise, not a big salary, but like consistent and good benefits and everything.
Sure.
I knew we had that to fall back on. We had our second kid, and our child had a really bad genetic disorder. It was pretty serious, and she was in the hospital for like weeks and weeks at a time. So my wife had to quit her job to take care of her. So I was pretty much screwed immediately. Right when I started, like I lost she lost her job, and I lost insurance, and I kind of like put the pressure on me that you think you can do it, now you have to do it. And it was sad that all that happened. And my daughter's doing a lot better now, but it kind of put the pressure on me. I had to figure out how to make money, and I had to figure out how to be a good lawyer and all of it at the same time. And just kind of put the work. The cool thing is like all those jobs I had prior, I felt like I was behind. I was 35 years old starting a firm, and a lot of people I went to law school with were in their 20s still. But so I was behind the times, in biological age, but I wasn't behind the times on like experience. Like I had all these jobs, and I knew all these people, and I had all these different experiences, and it helped me catapult, build my career and my firm a little bit faster than I would have, I think, if I went straight through. I honestly believe that. I feel like I was able to catch up because all those years weren't lost. I think sometimes people think like, oh, I wasted all that time working in a factory, wasted all that time giving driving tests to kids for the highway patrol. But that wasn't wasted time. I learned a lot of things at those jobs that I can apply now. Even factory work, I apply some of those skills to the law firm. Not that it's a mill or that it's an assembly line, but there's things you can learn from that. Just that you have to show up every day and get your work done. And no one's going to save you. Like when I was on the machine and all the parts were falling out and they were backing up, like I had to get it done. No one was coming to help, And it's like that in law. Like you got to get your shit done. Hopefully I can cuss, but I mean, you got to get it done. And there's no one going to care if you complain about it. So I think having a kind of a blue collar working class background has been good, and it's helped me with clients because most of my clients, they're hurt at work or they're hurt driving a truck. Like I can talk to them about the jobs I've had, and I kind of can relate to them because I've had jobs like they have now, and most lawyers have not had that. Which early on I felt like it held me back that I didn't have a dad that was a lawyer that owned a law firm. But I think ultimately it might have helped me in a lot of ways too.
First of all, I wonder if I could figure out how to put pressure on you right now, what you'd be able to do. Because it sounds like if there's any pressure on you, you're like, okay, I got it. I'm just going to figure it out.
It's weird. People are different. And that's not the skill, the strengths I have are not great at everything like it, because sometimes there's not pressure and there's just there might be weeks of mundane things to do and that need to be done. And I'm not good when I get bored easy, and that's bad. When I'm in that situation, it's not good. And I can kind of start like slowly going down. So I have to find, there are people who love stuff like that and don't like pressure. Like my wife, for one, she would rather do something to me that I think would be boring and repetitive. She would choose 100 times out of 100. And thank God there's people like that. But then thank God there's people like me that I don't care to go talk in front of a big crowd of people or have a bunch of pressure or a big deadline with something important. I kind of thrive under that, and not everybody does. And a lot of people shy away from that. And I'm not afraid to be wrong and screw up either, I guess, because I figured I've done it before, and I know nothing usually too awful happens to me as long as I kind of make it right and do my best, keep going. And I've tried to build a good team of people that kind of complement each other. I think my team knows that if something big's happening, I'll go take it on the chin and push forward. But they also know that I might need help or make sure I take the folder of the papers I need. I'm a little bit like that, so it takes all types. And I think early on, in high school, it doesn't test a lot of the skills I have. So I used to just kind of think too many people. I was just telling my receptionist this day, trying to, kind of encourage her a little bit. A lot of people pay attention to their weaknesses, and they're always thinking about that and trying to improve their weaknesses. And that's fine. But sometimes you just need to figure out what you're good at and lean into that and stop caring so much about what you're bad at all the time, because you can beat yourself down and not have confidence. You find out that you're really good at 2 or 3 things. Sometimes that's enough to have a whole career. You don't have to improve all your weaknesses. I'm not saying not try to improve. I mean, I tried to, but I'm not the most organized person. When I was in kindergarten, I had the messiest desk, and I do today. And I'm not saying I shouldn't improve a little bit, but that's just how it is. I'm never going to start a business helping other people be organized or organize the firm. I have my office manager super organized. That's her role. So we got, I think too many people are negative or just look at what they're bad at all the time instead of, and I did that when I was young too, but now I just try to figure out what I'm good at and lean into that more, because that's where you should be. That's where you need to be.
I feel like you've been talking to me and about me this whole time. So I started this job out of like necessity. I was very middling in high school. Like I could get good grades, but I didn't do the homework, or I didn't show up for the important thing or whatever. Right. And then I did the same thing in college. So I didn't go to college anymore. I started here. This was like a startup at the time. And I remember I was working, like say I've been in legal professional services in 2019, I was like 5 or 6 years in. And I remember like a big marketing company sent me an email. They're like, hey, we want to partner with you guys. We want to go live and talk to lawyers about what they could be doing. It was during COVID, what they could be doing with their marketing during COVID and like what they could do. Because eventually we're going to have to go back outside. And I was so nervous. And I had never gone live before or been on camera. And I'm like, I don't have anything to say. And I remember they like put together this whole poster presentation, all these impressive speakers. And I don't think they did a great job of giving me a brief on like what I was going to walk into. So I turn my camera on, they let me into this room. There's 1,600 people in this. I'll never forget this. In the Zoom thing, you can see how many participants there are. And they asked me a question about like sales and organization. And I quoted like almost verbatim my boss from when I used to do like fancy catering out in the Hamptons on Long Island. I'm from Long Island. I was like, we all, and it made sense, but like, that's where your experience comes from. And I'm the person who focuses on like, well, I don't have enough experience. I don't work inside of a law firm. There's nothing. I work with lawyers every day. I have worked with thousands of, what are you talking about, dude? And I get that whole thing like, oh, I'm not organized. Well, who cares? You have other strengths. You know what I mean? I could talk about that forever.
Your stuff needs organized, but it doesn't always need to be you. And there's people need to go talk to people and do the sales, but that doesn't need to be everyone that works here. Some people don't want to do that. So my firm is organized, very organized, but I personally am not very good at that, and when you're first starting up, that's hard. So I really had to hire people quicker. I was really self-conscious about that. Like, I hire people to help me quicker than a lot of other attorneys, I think, because I was self-conscious that I would screw it up if I didn't have people else, but it turns out that that's a skill. Like a lot of attorneys are afraid to hire people. I didn't have that problem. I did, so it's kind of weird how things work out. I think some things that may be a detriment can be a positive depending on how you spin it.
So I want to ask you, because I don't see this a lot, and you often get talked about as like a good example of someone who is, you are like a really good example, obviously, of somebody who's really locally engaged with their community, instead of just from a marketing perspective, like pounding Google ads or trying to, like, I don't know, what would you call that? Capture demand at levels where people have never heard of you before, instead of being the person who's known for that particular thing that you do. Where did you get all the ideas on like how to engage with your community? Because, and I want to say this out loud, because in the pre-roll, I was like, no, I can actually tell. And I don't know why. Maybe I'm judgy. I really am judgy. I judge people, whatever. There are certain like personalities out there where you can tell that the person knows what they're doing, and they give good advice, right? And you should do it like this, and you should do it like that. And then they have good ideas, and they're like, this is why I'm so successful. And they're a little like, it's cool, you're helping people, totally, 100%. But I could tell you like to do it because, I think I said this before, because you can, and because like it fulfills you. You know what I mean? So like, how did you get all these ideas on how to become more of like the hometown lawyer, the person in your area?
Where it comes from, I don't know. Somewhere in your brain, I guess. But I tried to think about it a lot. I took it seriously. I knew what, I think a lot of attorneys don't even think about their brand or what they're going to do. I think that's the start. And for whatever reason, I knew that I needed to think of something. And I knew I didn't, and there was a lot of firms at the time when I was starting that were kind of like, they were an animal, a tough animal, or they were a tool or whatever, like a hammer or whatever. Like, and all that stuff works. I like a lot of, I've met a lot of those guys. I just knew that my Uncle Mike would make fun of me if I was like the pit bull or something. He would call me that.
I was going to say pit bull. That's what okay.
And so I didn't want that. I wanted something that I kind of thought that there was a segment of society that didn't want a lawyer. And I thought that those people probably would be good clients. And I wanted to be something that was not putting off to them in small towns. And I thought the hometown lawyer, but you do need to be catchy. And that's why people are the pit bull or the hammer or whatever they are, or the gorilla. I wanted to be catchy, but in a way that no one could really hate on me. And the hometown lawyer, I just felt like that was it. And then after I found the URL, the hometownlawyers.com, and then I got it and I was like, man, that's a pretty good idea. I was proud of myself. And then I was like, now I got to live up to it, because you can't just say you're the hometown lawyer. More and more people now around here are trying to say they are, but you got to actually be it, or it's worthless to me. And then I like people anyway, I always have. And so we just started giving back as much as we could. Then we started leaning in with the social media and figure out how to use that platform to help people. And then just start doing videos for other people and that start businesses and nonprofits in little towns all over Ohio. It started in Hamilton, what was my hometown. And I started getting cases in other parts of the state. And I would drive through a little town in the middle of nowhere, like, this town's pretty cool too. So I started doing videos there, shouting them out. And the kind of the funny thing is, the smaller town I shout out, the bigger the kind of responses in the small town. I kind of started noticing, like, when you shout out a town that only has 1,500 people in it, a lot of big city lawyers were just like, what's the point? Man, those people, they take it seriously because they don't get shouted out. They don't get to me shout outs in Camden, Ohio, population 1,500, you know, and it's fun. And I started doing that. And then it kind of became the thing we do. I think it helps us not just get clients, but it helps, you know, the culture of the firm. It helps us when we're recruiting new employees. They know like, that guy's out there doing good stuff in my neighborhood. It's like hard to, I mean, other attorneys, even if they hate it, they can't really publicly be too hateful because you're doing good stuff. And we're not, most of the videos, I'm not even in it. It's not like, look at me with a big check handed it to people so I can get a picture. It's not that, you know, sometimes I'm in them, sometimes I'm not. And most of the times I'm not. And, or I'm just talking in the background. It's not about us. And really, but it helps me too, because I know I need content, but I don't want to be a talking head every time. I will do videos where I'm talking, but you can't I don't want to think of a new topic every single day. So being able to turn the camera on others, it helps them, but it also helps me. It gives me content, makes me feel good. And it's fun. And I think it helps the firm. It's hard to track that it does, but I think it does. And if it doesn't, you know, it helps the neighborhood, which in turn probably helps me. Gives me something to do to get me out of the office every now and then. Because like I said, I'm bored. I get bored easy. So if I don't have like a day or two outside the office doing something, I'm not going to be my best when I come back anyway, if I come here every day with the same thing to do. So there's just a lot of reasons I think it works for me. But I think you hit the nail on the head. Like if someone out there wants to do this and it's not really them and they don't really want to do it, it's probably need to find something else. You know, there's other ways to market. Community-based marketing, you better like your community and love people, or it's not going to seem genuine, because it's not going to be, and you're going to hate it. And people might hate you if it's fake. I don't know. I mean, you got to pick what works for you. I don't love just writing for writing's sake, so I'm not going to be writing a bunch of, you know, I know Chris Earl, you talked about him before we got on. I love Chris. I love all the stuff the marketing he does. I think he writes for the American Bar Association. And I know lawyers supposed to love writing. I can write. I don't mind to write if I need to tell a story, because I like telling a story, but I don't just want to write every week a new article. This is not something that wakes me up as much as going out in the community doing videos. So that's probably not something that's going to work for me, because I'll do it 2 or 3 times and then I won't stop. So you got to find something that you like, because then you'll repeat it, because consistency is where it's at. And you can ask anyone who's good at marketing. It's not because they've done 1 or 2 things good. They did a lot of little things good over a long period of time. That's what you got to do.
You took the words out of my mouth. I used to love writing and creatively, right? And when I first started working here, we had nothing. I think we made it's been a long time now. I think we bought the website Answering Legal, we put it up, and like I wrote all the content for the website, and I was like, oh, this is fun. I'm getting paid to write. I love to write. But then if I do that for too long, I don't want to write anymore. And podcasting got big, and video is better, and right, all that sort of thing. So I pitched to the owner here, we should start a podcast. And they're with it at first. And then, you're part of a growing company, and they're like, well, what is this podcast really doing for us? And I was like, well, we wrote all of the stuff, right? Like we continue to write stuff, and it's not me, right? Like, because other people are better at writing than I am. I like to talk to people. It's good for us if we maintain relationships. I like to think that I'm a good talker, and it's a lot more fun for me and enjoyable for me. Like I wouldn't be able to do marketing as much as I do if I wasn't on a podcast talking with you. If I wasn't doing, we have another podcast where one of my colleagues and I just like make fun of each other the whole time and try to talk about intake. And then we turn jokes in that show into ridiculous thumbnails. There's one coming out where I am a baseball and he is hitting me in the face. I'm the face of the baseball. It's just about finding what you like that you can sort of put out there. And I'm sure the people that own this place are looking at that. Like, why is the guy who runs all of our marketing a baseball on a YouTube thumbnail? You know, we should be a buttoned up corporation and we're big and we service thousands of law firms and other answering services aren't doing this. Why are we doing it? I don't know, because we can, and that's what the strengths that we have are. I don't know, maybe they're better at other things than I am. I'm sure they are.
Yeah, you got to kind of see what works, and being willing to try new things, but you can't do something you don't like because you won't stick with it. And sticking with it, a lot of things, almost everything will kind of work if you do it long enough and do it right. I think people give up on social media and videos too fast. I'll see them do 10 or 12 videos or maybe 30 videos. That's not enough. It's not close to enough. If you do 30 videos, I guarantee you might as well just not have done any. This is true. And not you got to do more than that. You got to do it all the time. If you're really going to see the full fruition of like success on social media, it's kind of got to be a lifestyle. It's got to be part of what you do.
You're so talking about Chris Early. I love to use Chris Early as an example because we work a lot with him. I met Chris like 4 years ago. He was introduced to me by Cindy Sharp, who I believe is his coach. She wears many hats. She's a former lawyer. She had her own practice. Now she's a coach. Then she was a leader for the legal burnout solution. She's just like a great person who can help a lot of people. So she introduces us, and we have Chris Early on the podcast. And he's just a lawyer in Massachusetts. He's Chris Early. And he's talking about time management and organization, and he wants to help people, and he loves networking. And 4 or 2 years after that, he's like, I want to start a podcast. Will you guys help me start a podcast? We help him produce his show. Now he's Chris Early. Like, people know who he is. He's a huge networker. He speaks at these events. He writes for the ABA. And I just watched somebody do something that they're really good at. Chris is insanely good at networking. But it's not that he's good at networking. It's that he loves networking. He loves meeting people. He loves giving back, and he loves helping people. And that's his shtick, right? Like, if you want to use a word for it, you just got to do what you're good at and what you like to do.
Yeah, you're more likely to do it. You'll do a better job, and people feel it when you're good at it. Especially networking. Like, if you hate it, people are going to tell. And you're not going to. It's not going to be as good. I mean, I'm not against people trying to step outside their comfort zone and do better. I think you should, but if you love writing and hate networking, lean into that probably more. Figure out a way to use that and maybe get better at this a little bit. But you got to use the strengths that you were given, because I think some people are naturally better at certain things, and that's just the way it is sometimes. Like, I've always liked talking to people, and I still do, and I probably will the rest of my life. And even other people don't like, I usually will try to figure out a way to like them and get them to like me, because it's like a challenge, and it's just, that's just how I am. I worked at the DMV giving driving tests. It's like the job everyone's scared of. And now I'm an injury lawyer that sues people, and everyone hates us, I've always had jobs where nobody liked, I've always been in jobs where you're not the favorite person in society, but I still like people. And so when you're in a job that a lot of people don't really think that highly of, everyone's mad at the DMV. I worked there 6 years. The whole line is people that don't want to be there that day. But I didn't want my day to suck. And if my day was not going to suck, I had to keep a smile on people's face the best I can. And I'm not going to be 100% successful, but it was enough that, I was the happy guy at the DMV that people didn't mind talking to, I think. And makes my day better. But I know not everybody's cut that way. I mean, that probably sounds, I liked working at the DMV before I was an attorney, the driving, everyone's in there and they're getting mad that they don't have the right paperwork, and you got to turn them away, and there's nothing I can do. But I still, and I'd try to keep them happy best I could. And we had a line out the door right at 8 o'clock when we opened until we closed. It's always busy. And some people would probably hate that job, but I didn't, and it's because I'm a people person. So like, I've tried to keep as much time outside the office meeting people as I can, and not just be stuck here all the time piling papers.
So my dad, when I was growing up, owned a potato chip warehouse.
Nice.
Wise potato chips. I don't know if you get Wise potato chips in Ohio. It's like only really like a New York and very few surrounding areas potato chips, but they are elite potato chips. I like to say that Wise potato chips put me halfway through college.
Nice.
And my dad does not find that joke very funny, but he works in a warehouse. So I worked in a warehouse from like 12 to 18 or whatever. I got a job delivering pizza. So 17. And I just remember he had like 20 truck drivers. So basically it's an independently owned warehouse. He buys merchandise from the parent company. They ship it to him, and then he sells it to these 20 truck drivers. So it's the same customers every day, and they have the same questions every day. And my dad would get so frustrated and annoyed with these people because they did ask the same questions every day, and my dad had the same answers every day, and he couldn't go through that rigmarole. But I would go there and I would love it. I would banter with these people. I would talk to them. Did they absolutely annoy the crap out of me some days when I was like 16 and all I wanted to do was like smoke cigarettes and not work? Absolutely. But I couldn't ever. No, there was one guy. He was a real SOB.
Always one.
He is, and he'll tell you, he's like, I know what I am. I'm garbage. But like, I never understood being upset about it. You know what I mean? Like, these are the people that you have to deal with. I might as well have fun dealing with them. And so I guess I learned that like everybody's difficult in their own way. And if you kind of try to see it coming, then you're just being negative as opposed to just like, I don't know, except for Parkway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for Parkway Joe.
Yeah. You got to figure out how people are, you can't change how they are. You can just change how you deal with it. And you're not going to win everyone over, but if you got a smile on your face and you're actually happy to be wherever you are, usually most people will be all right. I mean, I've been all over the world and dealt with all sorts of different people, and I've had all sorts of different positions where I was, at the bottom, and now I own a firm and people come in here and think I'm the boss or whatever. Like, it's never, none of it was really different. If you treat people good and, try to listen to them, do the best you can to help them out. I don't have too much problem with people usually.
I want to ask you one question, then I'm going to let you go because it is 4:45 on a Friday, and you're very generous with your time to do this. You've lived a few lives, I would say, and making the leap when you did. I know you're like, if I put the pressure on you, you're basically just gonna rise to the occasion to be corny.
Now you're putting the pressure on me.
Well, come on, that's what you need. So if you could give one piece of advice to somebody who's like thinking about taking the leap and opening up their firm, what's one thing that you wish you knew going into it?
I mean, how important answering the phone is, and it just sounds like such. And I'm not saying that because you guys are answering legal.
I didn't make him say this. I did not make him say this.
I thought of like that's kind of lame. Like you go with something else, but I think people know. Yeah, you got to answer the phone. It sounds so stupid, but answering the phone is complicated. It's not as easy as it sounds. It's not near as easy as it sounds, matter of fact. And yeah, answering services can help you, but that alone's not enough. There's so much goes into properly answering the phone and training people to answer the phone. And if I tell most lawyers that really aren't paying attention to their business, like, what do you mean training someone to answer the phone? Like, it's a lot harder than it sounds. And to actually do it well and track if it's doing well and train, that alone, you could spend a whole semester in law school on a class on that, and you'd be a lot better off than whatever you studied. I can guarantee you that if you're going to own a law firm. So read up on intake, read up on, call tracking, training, sales, all that stuff. And you can't just hire someone for $15 an hour or some young person from high school and give them a phone and think you're going to have a good law firm. You're not going to have a good law firm if that's what you do. I guarantee it. It doesn't, and most people spend more on marketing or worry about being a better lawyer all the time. All those things are great. But if you're not answering the phone, your firm's going to be a lot worse than it should be. And I've paid so much attention to it, and it's still not where it should be, in my opinion. But I know I'm getting better all the time because I pay attention to it all the time.
I do love that you're not one of those people who writes it off as nobody wants to work. I hate when I hear that, when people say like, nobody wants to. Come on, man.
It's just a cop out. Yeah, some people don't want to work. They can fire them, get rid of them, find someone who does. And there's other people. And if everyone doesn't want to work for you, you're probably not inspiring them enough or paying them enough or training them enough, or you're picking the wrong people. I mean, I'll tell you this. I'll shout her out, Micah. No one's going to steal her, but she just left on vacation. But I hired her when she was just barely turned 19, and slowly over the years have trained her. And she's been with me almost 5 years now, and she is my intake director. She crushes it. And it wasn't by accident. It was intentional. I would sit and make her listen to herself on the phone, and she hated doing it. And I didn't always love sitting there and making her listen to it, but she did. She took, she would take the criticism and listen to it and see where calls got awkward or where she, kind of missed opportunities. And now she knows how to get on the phone and close the deal. And it's because of one, I knew it was serious and I tried to train her. And it was two, on the other part, takes two to tango, that she listened and took it seriously. And because she did that, she's got a better job now than she would have otherwise. If she would have been staying near, she wouldn't have been able to move up. I don't think many attorneys, I know a lot do, but increasingly more are taking it seriously.
Correct.
But a lot of firms still just think the person answering the phone is the lowest level of the firm. And I don't think that. I think it's one of the most important roles. And I'll add this, a lot of lawyers are not good at it. They all think they are good at doing intakes. A lot of them suck at it. And it doesn't always have to be the attorney on the phone. I know that's crazy to think. The lawyer, even the person that owns the firm, might not always be the best person to do the intake. Even not just time of value of money, like their time's valuable somewhere else. That might be part of it. Yep. Sometimes they just don't close it as good as they think they do.
I learned that lesson. There was a lawyer who became very close with us because where was he? He wasn't that close. When we first started out, he was a traffic ticket guy. He's retired since. And we just loved each other and we got along like crazy. And I remember I had a traffic ticket and I called him, but I couldn't get through to him because he doesn't answer his phone. He has a team of people that answer. He is a receptionist, and then he had a team of people like closers. And I was like, no, you don't understand. That's my friend. Can I talk to my friend? And they were like, oh, okay. And then he was like, no, go back on the phone.
Let you talk to you if you ask directly, but most of the time people don't need to. And a lot of times I'm not here to answer the phone anyway. I might be out doing something else. So you gotta, if you're putting, and I know there's different practice areas are different, but some practice areas, you don't need to set an appointment for tomorrow to talk to a lawyer. By then they might hire somebody else. You got to get it while you can. And then it's better for the client. You can get working on their case faster.
I agree.
But it doesn't happen by accident. It's not going to happen if you don't take it seriously and take steps to put it in place. And it takes time and money and all that and effort. And it's working on your phone. Intake is not sexy. It's not a lot of fun, honestly. I like marketing a lot better than I like intake.
You're saying what I do is not sexy, man? That's crazy.
It's not that much fun for me, at least. Call trees and all this and make sure it's very technical, and it can be painstaking because but it's super important. Without that, your firm's you're just wasting money.
I'm trying not to be offended. I'm not offended. Okay. If our listeners want to follow you and see all of the cool social media stuff that you do and learn more about small towns in Ohio, how can they do so?
Yeah, so I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those, the Hometown Lawyer. On LinkedIn, I'm just Josh Hodges or Joshua Hodges. I'm not sure which one it is.
I think it's Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua Hodges, YouTube, that Hometown Lawyers. So you can find us. It's the Hometown Lawyers with an S.com on the website. Yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to talk. If you got some stuff you can teach me, I'm always ears trying to learn more. And, I talk to a lot of young lawyers that are just starting out or people, stuck on something. I like trying to help out where I can too. There's been a lot of people help me. I got a lot of mentors, and I try to help as many people as I can along the way. You always learn something when you're helping someone else too. So it's give and take, just like the videos for others. It kind of, the more you put out, that's good, the more comes back. It's kind of how it works. At least seems that way.
I agree. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Thank you to all of our listeners. We hope you enjoyed this conversation, and we will be back with another episode of Everything Except the Law soon. Be sure to check out previous episodes of our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the Answering Legal YouTube channel. Why can't I read today? Links to everything covered in today's conversation can be found in the description of this episode. We will see you next time, everyone.